If you do a good job for one client, he's going to give you 10 clients.
Client Bhagwan hai wali approach chalti hai law mein? Like, is that something which you should?
Not that you will get protection over each and everything.
What's one significant piece of advice you would want to share to?
I do not see AI resolving disputes in.
इसमें royalty का role कैसे आता है?
IP valuation is generally done by and if they still say that okay, I still want to fight, we go for it.
But
Having tough clients is a bliss.
so IP and patent are the same thing around artificial intelligence. What is its role in not just IP but law altogether?
For wasting their time, they would snap 5 lakhs on you.
Like learning to say no to your clients. Does that happen? One of my directors recently told me under promise over deliver.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our viewers out there. This is your host Bharat Mago, and today on the Unfiltered Executive, we have not one but two mentors, Mr. Rupin Chopra and Mr. Nihit Nagpal, associate partners at SS Rana Co, one of the leading top firms in India. Thank you so much, guys. Over the last few days, I've had a chance to, research a bit about you, research about the company and the profession itself. Although I've been surrounded with lawyers all my life, but I'm very excited to talk to you both. So thank you for doing this and welcome to the show. I'm very excited to know what shaped the young Nihit and the young Rupin, because there's a tagline which I carry: we are what we've experienced and we will be what we shall experience. And I want to know what shaped the young Rupin and Nihit. So either of you can go first and we can start from scratch. Where were you born? How was your schooling like? Were you a conventional bright student or not?
So I'll take the lead here.
Yes, sure.
So I come from a small city in the Punjab that's called the Sports Hub, the city of Jalandhar. So I was born and brought up there till class 12th. I was there, and studying law or practicing law never clicked to me. So in fact, I was very good in sports. I was very good in cricket, and eventually I was quite decent with the studies also. I would not say I was great, but I was quite decent. But I had the aptitude of quick learning of the things. I had the tendency to grasp the things quickly. So I had just imagine I had done my class 12 board exams, and the leaves were on, and I had not actually planned for doing the law. And then someone in the family suggested that you are a decent student, why don't you pursue law? That's when it clicked me. Then I went to Chandigarh for preparation of my law exams, and then somehow I was able to I scored fairly good in class 12th, and fortunately I was able to get admission in ILS Law College in Pune.
Jalandhar, as you said, city of sports. I love the place. I know a couple of people from there. Everybody's fun. I have family in Punjab also, but I've always been born and brought up in Delhi, and probably Nihit can shed more light on that one, because that's a comparative living in Delhi. But बचपन से यहाँ रहना, यहाँ की upbringing versus पंजाब की upbringing में ज़मीन आसमान का फर्क है. But how was that whole experience, upbringing in Jalandhar? School के ऐसे relationships जो आपने form किए हो, which actually helped you in the future, and then how did that, as you mentioned कि law सोचा नहीं था but हो गया, तो वो आपका transition कैसा था? आपने commerce करी थी, science ली थी, क्या था?
I was not a bright student, so it was commerce without maths. And instead I took physical education, and I had since my childhood I had a great friendship with the people who were good in sports, because you tend to spend more time with the friends who have the same interest. So my friendship with my school friends till date, and in fact most of them, quite few of them, have moved to Delhi also. 3 of them are owners of online fantasy game. They are very famous, so they are based in Delhi now. So the typical Punjab culture or the accent in me is still there. I still own a Royal Enfield, which every Punjabi has to own. The Bolt, yeah, the putte side wali Bolt. So I still own it. So that's the Punjabi which can never go out of me.
So नहीं थी, ये आते हैं ऑफिस आते हैं बुलेट पे नहीं?
ऑफिस में मैंने कभी नहीं देखा. ऑफिस में he drives
because I stay far in Gurgaon, so 1.5 hours it's not possible for me to, but I do take it for a ride on weekends some days.
But just moving on to a comparative between Jalandhar and Delhi, I'm sure आप दोनों ने ये बातें करी होगी. How was your upbringing? Probably I can relate slightly more because I've been in Delhi all my life.
So I'm a typical Delhiite, born and brought up here itself. And unlike Rupin, I wasn't a very bright child during my initial years of school, and I was more into co-curricular activities.
Just to correct, I was not a bright student too.
I mean, yeah. So
Backbenchers.
So I wasn't backbencher, but I was like out of class kind of a boy, doing co-curricular activities, mostly in dramatics. Then I initial years I joined Sahitya Kala Parishad. I was doing dramatics there. So from very start I wanted to get into television. This is like 5 or 6. Like when I was in class 5 or class 6. So this happens in Delhi because there are a lot of resources where my mother used to, I still remember that I used to come from school at 2 and my mother used to take me to a studio in Lajpat Nagar and we used to travel on a bus and it was 1 hour ride. We used to reach there at 4 to 6 I used to do dramatics and learn how to act, and then we used to start from there at 6. We used to reach home at 7 and the whole day is gone. There is no time to study, there is nothing. So practically that way I was quite fortunate that my parents, my mother was there to support me. Then I joined Shamak Davar, so gotten into dancing also.
Oldest dance class in India. Shamak Davar almost हर बच्चा जाता है.
And fortunately, Delhi का जो center था, that was my school, Happy Model School. I used to be there in morning and then in evening for the dance classes. So I was fairly good at dancing also. And I did quite a few. I did 2 or 3 serials also as a child artist. And those were like, there was a channel called Sub TV at that time. And then there were very famous Adhikari brothers who were doing, I think most of the serials were by them. So I was part of a small stint, like 2-3 episodes were there. Suddenly, when I was in class 9 or 10, I became very serious about studies. There was a marked shift from what I was doing, and I became very regular with my studies, etc. because there was pressure that now you have to choose subjects, etc. and then you have to score particular marks in a particular subjects. So I developed keen interest in science and maths. So these two became the strength, and I scored pretty well in my 10th.
You had a
board.
science background?
Yes.
Wow.
Don't tell me you don't know. आपको नहीं पता था?
No, I didn't never.
So then I liked science, etc. So I was confused whether to do engineering or go for medicine. So my parents were like, if you like science, just go with take everything in science and take maths also. So I was like, okay. So I ended up taking medical with PCMBE, like we used to say. E is English. Okay. So it was the most difficult combination, and I could not qualify for that combination because I wasn't that bright. But then my co-curricular things always helped. I was the president of the theatre society of my school, then the prefect, then subsequently became head boy of the school. So all that, I had that teacher's favorite. I have been like that.
Head boy तो ऐसे ही होता था. Head boy तो teacher's favorite होता था.
So that's how science happened, that I end up taking science, but most of the times I was out. Then interestingly, I was also into this after taking science, but that co-curricular thing could not get out of me. So then I gotten into this, we used to make models, science models. So I came up with a small discovery, and then we built upon it.
Discovery क्या थी?
Discovery was we came up with an idea that how roads can be made out of plastics. So this is now implemented all over. This is back in 2003. So and that kept on qualifying, and we reached till nationals. So that way, co-curricular was going on. In fact, I missed my pre-boards.
Perfect. Nice. अब तो you guys are far away from 12th boards. Yeah. So now, can I ask कितने score किया था?
In 12th?
Yeah.
Proudly 92%, but that was commerce without mathematics, but with physical ed. That's how I was able.
That was still a good score.
Still a good score, yeah.
So I was just 71.
But you had a difficult subject now.
Yeah.
But then how was the transition from, you know, your science background? क्योंकि आपके लिए तो I think law was one of the potential.
Potential, yeah, definitely.
But from science में तो ये था कि या तो engineering करूँगा या medical करूँगा. तो वो transition law की तरफ कैसे था? I'll start with you and then bro.
So my story is quite funny because you know I screwed up in physics big time, and then before then the entrance had already started, and my PMT was there, then AIEEE was there, DC was there, etc. So I had filled up all of those, and then suddenly I realized that see, I have to accept that I am not going to get through any entrance tests, and I have no, and I can't waste my year or so. And then while studying in class 12, we had a subject, and then in that we had studied about patent law, a little bit, that what are patents, etc. And my maths teacher, who was fighting a long drawn legal battle, he said that why don't you guys do law, because it's very lucrative, this, that, and you know there is nothing, there are so many doctors and it might take time, etc., etc. So law became one of the options in my mind that I could, and my skills have been quite social, like because of you know, and those it had a lot of creativity attached to it. So I thought might as well. I just filled up only one entrance test of IP Delhi. No, I filled up three of those. At that time there was not a common entrance test. It was separate for all universities. So for two national law schools, I think I had missed for other national law schools. So one was Gujarat National Law School and one was Raipur and IP. And my AIEEE was clashing with law IP. So I was in a biggest dilemma where to go, whether I should go with this thing or that thing. But then, you know, I accepted that no, I can't, physics is not my cup of tea and engineering is out of question. So I went to give law entrance, and without even preparing for like much, I scored a decent rank and got into law.
Rupin, आपका कैसा experience था transitioning from commerce to law?
So it was not very difficult for me as compared to him. Hats off to him, first of all. But you know, after I did my class 12, as I said, you know, I had given my exams. I was just waiting for the results, and then you know, I was not really career-oriented person. कि यार मेरे को ना ये पढ़ना है, वो पढ़ना है. It was one fine day that I came back from playing cricket, and one of my uncles. He was in the house, and my mother was discussing कि वो, you know, typically इन्हें की करना चाहिए था. So he said, why don't you know, there are plenty of things coming up in law. Law is diversifying in India, so I think he should do law. I said fine. I was very cool enough to you know, happily accepted it. But then when I made a decision that I have to do law, I took it very seriously. I had only 1 month to prepare for you know, the entrance exam test. So I was able to appear for 3 exams. So I was able to crack Punjab University, Chandigarh. Then I scored fairly well, but couldn't secure the good rank at National Law University, Bangalore. And I was very happy that, you know, being a Punjabi, getting admission in Punjab University, and वहाँ पे
फतेह की बात
हो गई, you know, the huge campus. It's a beautiful campus. Everyone was happy. I had actually planned to go and deposit my admission fees there. So just before the night, someone said that, have you applied in ILS Law College, Pune? And I was so clueless as to say, ये क्या चीज़ है? Then I researched then it gave me an impression that it's a better university for graduating from the law as compared to the one in Chandigarh. Then I filled up the form there, and I fortunately got the admission there as well. So when I, you know, spoke to my friends, my family, everyone encouraged me to go to Pune. Of course, it was a, you know, slightly cultural shock for me.
A major cultural shock. Punjab से Pune is completely different. मतलब I think Marathis और Punjabis में एक ही चीज़ common है कि वो loud है.
Yes.
Yeah.
बाकी everything is different.
Right. I still had an inclination to go to Punjab University, but when, you know, my family said you should go to Pune, so I said there is only one condition, that my bullet will go with me. Yes.
Did you drive?
No, I did not drive. So it was sent by a courier as soon as I reached there. It was there with me within a week. So that's it. So not a difficult transition at all for me. So I was again more involved, more inclined towards sports than studies. I used to, I would prepare for exams 1 month in advance. That's it. Otherwise, you would find me either in gyms or you would be seeing me on the cricket field. Or also, I was a part of a Royal Enfield biking group by the name Road Shakers. So I had done a lot of off-roading with them on Royal Enfield. We had gone to do a monsoon madness session in Satara jungles, and we had to. It was a long 7-hour drive there in the jungles with a lot of rain and slush. And imagine we covered only 5 to 6 kilometers in 7 hours. That was so difficult.
7 hours.
Yes.
On a bike.
On a bike.
I think because of the terrain.
Because of the terrain.
So ये इस टाइम पे छोटे छोटे नहीं लगती थी skid कर गए, like you had that.
He had all the gear, but of course when you are.
It is professional bike riding.
See, I'll give an example. So if you're passionate about playing, आप बुखार में भी खेलोगे.
हाँ.
It won't matter. You would play in the month of June, that too at 12 noon. Yes. If you have passion for it. So उस time दर्द होती थी, but it used to be, I would say, a sweet pain. 3-4 दिन बाद चली जाती थी, but it was fun, and we used to take care of our bodies with all the guards and the helmets. In fact, we had made a rule that if you're not wearing proper gears, the person won't be allowed to ride with us. That was the policy.
Road Shakers you mentioned.
Yeah.
Is that still an active group? Are you?
They are still an active group, but they are operating only in Pune. And I'm in Delhi for last more than 11 years now. So I really miss being with them. They were very organized.
आपका कैसा था कॉलेज का एक्सपीरियंस पूरा?
So I was not at all a sports person. I was doing during my school I was doing theatre and little bit of taekwondo. So and taekwondo also happened because my father wanted me to become a little fitter during my class 10, 11. Because during my class 7, I had crossed, my weight was 100.
Oh.
So I have been class 7th. So we had a medical checkup going on, and then everybody was called. And as soon as I stepped on the weighing scale, and the guy he said, "एक बारी उतर के दोबारा चढ़ो." He was like noting down 56 or like 48 or something, and then I was like 100. And this is the first time where, because I was very scared to weigh myself, and I was like, what is happening? I mean, I'm 100 already. But then I started doing taekwondo, and very funny thing happened that in my age group, there was nobody with same weight. So without playing,
he used to win.
I won the silver medal because they could not get anybody of the same weight. Because taekwondo you have to have a
weight category.
So I also trained in MMA. I used to, whenever we beat salsa nahi kara. But I used to train in MMA. You have weight category. So that is for every martial arts.
I still remember I won one title during my school in sports. I think I got silver medal. And that was without playing. I was like,
without contesting even.
Yeah, without even contesting.
The undisputed leader.
In class 11, I think I must be 104 or something. But then I realized that it's high time. I'm going to get into college. I should start working out. Then I got into a lot of yoga and aerobics, etc., without going to the gym. So I was using the local parks and, using my dancing skills, running, etc., to get at least respectably. Then my sister's wedding was there when I was in class 12, so I had one more motivation.
The biggest factor in anybody's life.
So so 10-15 kilo I reduced by my sister's wedding. So I was like 85, 86, but then tendency, my metabolism was very bad, etc. So and then college life, I was like a obese kind of a child only. But then no sports at all happening. And during my college, I was just studying and became very serious with the studies. So I was like the front bencher, very, very conscious about, and then I was like consistent topper of my college. I used to top every time from my college. Out of 160, I used to be at number 1 or number 2. There was another girl in the next class. So there was a competition between both of us. And one time, like when I was in third year, so I topped the whole IP, the whole all four colleges. So that's how law became. I became, because I think I'm a very quick learner when it comes to listening. So I cannot read much and learn, but if I hear somebody, and I will not forget. So that's my USP to score, like my secret to score during my law was to attend lectures. So I used to be in class most of the times and used to sit on the front desk. And I never used to study like lot of hours, but just used to hear, and that developed like interest in law.
Listening skills are a must.
Yes, for a lawyer.
Irrespective of whatever you do.
Right.
Then luckily I had a friend who was also very academics oriented, and then we used to participate in moot court competitions and started doing other things. So at that time, the co-curricular focus was altogether gone. Like it was this major stark change in my personality it became purely law, and then like every law student, they want to give edge to other students, and because we know there are like 7,000 lawyers are enrolled every year at the bar, and we are coming from the first generation lawyer. We have to have something which will set us apart from other students.
You were like attending lectures, you were reading notes. ये बहुत बड़ा comparative है. आप
Right.
खेलते थे और फिर एक महीना पहले notes पढ़ते थे. A question for both of you. Did you find a challenge anywhere in both of those approaches? Attending lectures probably means that you're not attending social events.
Yes.
And attending social events and playing cricket all day probably means that you're missing out on some aspect of knowledge from class or anything else. So क्या comparative क्या है?
So there would be a slight difference here. So like his USP is listening. My USP is more of I understand things more easily when I go through them, read them, properly. And as far as me, I used to attend lectures because our college had a very strict attendance policy. So you would be barred from doing the exams if you do not have 75% attendance at least. So I had to attend the lectures. I think it's such kind of strictness is also important because it helps to keep you disciplined in life. If if I would have gotten the atmosphere that nobody would come and question me about my classes, I would have probably lost my interest in studies, and maybe I would have lost my discipline also. I would, so I used to attend lectures, but my, USP is reading, understanding, and then working towards it. Like unlike he's more into listening person.
Both are very important.
Right, both are very important.
Professional.
Yes. So again, attending lectures, I would recommend to all the viewers who are in the college. I would recommend you should attend lectures, even if you don't want to listen to your teacher. You are just doing it for, getting the attendance. Fun bhi hota hai. Just go and sit there. At least you will remain disciplined. Even if you don't learn anything, in the worst case scenario, you will remain disciplined. That you would know that you have to get up on time, you have to go to college on time, you have to be in class on time, so that the moment you become a professional, you respect time. Yes. Any professional you become a lawyer or a dentist or whatsoever. I believe having disciplined life is very important.
You mentioned about moot courts, and that piqued my interest. Do moot courts help?
I was that kind of student who never voluntarily took part in the moot court because I used to love cricket and not do anything else. So the final year moot court, I still remember. So it was the mandatory moot court. So whenever I give, the first moot court I was doing, and our sir who was taking the moot court, so he knew that I play cricket for college and everything. So the first pleading I made, so instead of making any legal remark, he said, "That's a no ball." That was quite funny.
So यहाँ से आप interest भी ठीक हो गया होगा. Oh, did he make that reference specifically to you?
To me only.
Oh, okay.
Because he knew I was a cricketer and he just said it's a no ball. So that was the only mandatory moot court I did. Of course, I miss, looking back 10, if I go back 10, 12 years back, I think what I did was, I would not say bad, but I would encourage the young lawyers to do all the moot courts, every possible moot court, as it will help you to become a better professional. When you start practicing law, you would be in a position to understand more cases in detail, and it would also enhance your ability to research on a particular subject to find out the case laws.
Does it prepare you for court?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it does.
I always, like, although I'm not rendered it, but my perspective has always been like, this is just a co-curricular dramatization of what would happen in court, except courts would be, real life would be different and difficult.
No, to be honest, I have had chance to do good moot courts like the popular ones, and the amount of hard work which I had put then while preparing for a moot court or submitting a memorial, I have never put that kind of hard work in my personal cases. So because the resources are a lot, and then after becoming a lawyer, your resources are streamlined. You know what to add, what not to add. There are fixed formats. But for a moot court, you have to research everything. You don't know anything. What is the jurisdiction, etc., etc. Because after becoming a lawyer, these many things are already very clear.
Technical points, yeah.
So technical points are quite clear. But while doing a moot court, you research a lot. So I remember, like, if I have had sleepless nights preparing a case, it would not be a live case. It would be a moot court. So that kind of exposure moot court gives.
Okay.
And then after moot courts, during my time when I was doing law, I graduated in 2010. So at that time only, we also started to have those mediation competitions, negotiation competitions, arbitration competitions. So it was not restricted to court only.
Right.
It was like a client. In fact, I had participated in a very interesting competition, which was a client counseling competition during my final years, which was also very important because as a lawyer, I ended up studying a lot, that how to, like, psychology, etc., etc., that what goes behind when you're dealing with a client. So those kind of things I think definitely helps, because what I think during your law college, what you would do is just the 20%. What you are going to do is from the 100% after becoming a lawyer. So I think those competition would compensate at least for 30%. So 50%, 30% you would learn from those competitions, 20% in your school, and then remaining 50% while you are in the field and while you are working. So that's how I think is the bifurcation. So everybody, I think it's very important to participate in moot court competitions wherever you get the chance, and just not the normal moot court competitions. There are other client counseling, negotiations, etc. You can.
What is the you're saying moot courts there are different bifurcations to prepare you for that particular.
Right.
So moot court would be litigation based,
Yes.
but arbitration competition would be arbitration based. So the principles of arbitration will apply. Then client counseling would be only, there is nothing to do with the court, but how you're counseling your client, how you're dealing with your client. So those skills are involved. And then a mediation or negotiation competition would be where there is the award is not binding from the person who's judging the competition, but you are trying to negotiate in such a manner that the dispute is resolved.
Basically, this will help any student understand ki mera kya interest and what I'm good at.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
How big was technology in law for you guys?
So as far as doing the case law research when we were when I was doing the internships with other lawyers also. So we never had the offices did not have the culture of using the desktop or giving laptops to the interns.
Yeah.
So earlier we used to search more on, we would go to the library and to open the books and find the case law. But more organized law firms like this firm. So I got the desktop from the day one, and we were using desktop and the internet to find all the case laws and everything. And getting an internship, we would normally go onto the website of the firm and pick out the email address and send an email with the hope that we may get a response. And most of the times we wouldn't get a response. We wouldn't get a response. And since me and him do not have any law background, or we do not have any lawyers in the family, we could not ask any uncle or auntie to get us an internship. So it was a difficult task then, but today we both can proudly say that whatever we did utilizing our brain, our efforts to get our internship, and then converting into a job with a good law firm.
And luck played its part?
Of course. Luck has to be there, but I would also say, the fortune will always favor the brave. So we have to keep on trying in life and the good things will continue to happen.
Irrespective of whatever industry you belong to, you have to apply for 100 applications in order to get a response from
One, yeah, maybe one or
basically two, and then probably fruitful is just one. So a lot of college students do need to hear this as well. Ki they have to put in the effort in just in order to get a job altogether. And referrals play a role, as you mentioned.
They do. And normally, you know what I observed when I started working as a lawyer in 2012, there is still a tendency in the market that, you know, 2 साल job करेंगे, we'll get a raise at a better place, उधर चलते हैं. But my family and, you know, people whom I used to consult, they always taught me that if you are enjoying working with your senior, you should never look at money, especially in earlier years of your career. Make yourself in a manner that, you know, or develop yourself in a way that money should not bother you. Learn, because law is a profession where you will learn things every other day. You can never say that मुझे सब कुछ आता है. ऐसा कभी भी आप कह ही नहीं सकते. And still, this is a life. जब कभी we get overconfident, you would also realize, suddenly, you know, a email with a tricky question comes in, and then I have to run to my boss that, sir, can you help me in this? And he's always good enough, or I mean, you know, he would graciously help us out in every possible matter. So my message to everyone would be, don't look at money in your early years of your career. Just focus on building your reputation, your vision, and you need to have a vision that you need to do well in life. Money is not everything. My message is
no, this is very important for everybody to understand, all our viewers also, because I have heard lawyers complain about the pay scale right after college. In litigation, it's very low. Is it? That's true, right?
So it's true that in litigation the pay scales are less, but I think the industry is changing, times are changing.
Yes.
So it is improving now, and see, in litigation you are learning, you are taking something from.
You're getting paid to learn.
You are getting paid to learn, so you can't expect too much at that point in time. Another point, in addition to money, I would also say that today what I see, like young lawyers, they look on specialization at day one.
Yes, that's
so that is limiting their options. So if you at that point, I think neither Rupin nor I never thought that, you know, that we will not choose this internship or we will not do this.
Yeah.
Because we never had any specialization in mind.
We just wanted to work.
And
we wanted to learn.
And see that how that specialization is going to, like, by doing it, actually we thought that like what we want to do, actually which specialization we want to do will come later. But students today, they have this thing in mind that, you know, I want to be an IP lawyer, like on day one.
I think we both still do not, you know, say no to things. Whenever we still get an opportunity to learn something new, be it for me to do a litigation or for him to do a contract drafting, which I do regularly, we still do it. We never say no, that no, we are not specialized or we won't do it. You always, our profession is such a noble profession, and you can learn anything, everything. There's lots to learn. New laws are coming up, online gaming is coming up. I was talking to someone on drones and everything. There's lots to learn. If I restrict myself कि मुझे सिर्फ IP ही पे ही focus करना है, then I'm actually killing my, you know, I would say capability. Or even if I don't practice a certain law, it's always good to learn.
Yes.
Like our firm has a tendency, you know, to encourage the young lawyers and everyone to write a lot of articles. When you write an article, when you write a news article, you learn a lot. You may not be proficient in that law, but at least you are learning something. Like I do not practice tax at all. I don't know anything about it. But whenever I read some article about, you know, indexing, property indexing, something concept I recently learned, but I was happy about it, that I learned about it. I may not be practicing in it. So you should always keep your vision open. You should always keep your, you know, eyes open to learn things every new day. Just don't be focused कि मैं अगर ये करने आया तो मैं यही करूँगा. वो भी नहीं होना चाहिए.
ये काफ़ी अच्छी एडवाइस है कि डोंट फोकस ऑन योर स्पेशलाइजेशन राइट आफ्टर कॉलेज, बिकॉज लर्निंग तो नेवर एंडिंग है. आप अपने बच्चों से भी सीखते हो, आप अपने बड़ों से भी सीखते हो, आप खुद भी गलती करके सीखते हो, और यू नो बाकी लोगों की गलतियों से भी सीखते हो. Since we are talking about this, you know, laws and everything, how is your experience in courts comparatively when the first time you went into court and now you go into courts after a specialization and being proficient in your legal function altogether. कोर्ट का माहौल कैसा होता है? क्योंकि I'll take you to court is a very strong terminology which everybody uses, but कैसा माहौल कैसा होता है for lawyers? मेरे clients के लिए तो बहुत अजीब होता है.
So for lawyers, I would say that for me, court experience has not changed much. You are more seasoned in terms of that what is to be presented and how it is to be presented, but मतलब डर उतना ही लग रहा होता है.
Every time you go there, डर तो लगता है.
मतलब like when you're facing the judge for the first time, probably at that time you're more bold because at that time you are like मैं नया lawyer बना हूँ and then nothing can happen to us. This that junior thing can always save you in a way that judge is not going to come heavily upon you. But once you are an experienced lawyer and if you make mistake, then you have lot more ownership attached to it. So I think that till today, if I have a case to argue in morning, then I would not be able to sleep the last night or would wake up quite early to prepare the case. Even if we know that the other side might take an adjournment, but it is always with experience, I think you tend to become more responsible towards your preparation
More
of a
responsible,
case.
and you are scared of things only when you are worried about it, and when you have prepared for it. When I was in school, so I would just before the exam I would tell someone, यार मुझे डर लग रहा है कि पता नहीं रिजल्ट कैसा होगा. He said, तूने मेहनत करी है ना, इसलिए you are worried about getting good result. अगर मेहनत ही नहीं करी होती तो पता केस हारना है.
So that's true. Yes.
जिसने मेहनत ही नहीं करी उसको पता केस तो हार ही जाना मैंने.
पर ये जो आपने बोला जैसे you'll prepare even if they're going for an adjournment or anything else. कभी ऐसा हुआ है कि आप कुछ सोच के गए और सामने वाले ने कुछ और ही गेम डाल दिया and then you're like, oh, I did not think of this or I did not anticipate this.
So sometimes it happens all the time because people, if somebody is not having good case, then they come up with other gimmicks most of the times that they will throw up something which you were not expecting. But then as a lawyer we think that we should be prepared for the worst, that they might say that they will not be arguing tomorrow, but in fact they are well prepared coming with a senior lawyer. So that has happened with me, that they said that no, now it is, I think the case is moving towards the settlement. So I think we just will take another date or so and we'll negotiate and finish this case off. And next morning I walk in, there is a senior lawyer with them, and I'm like, what is happening? And I have a very good rapport with that lawyer, and I would not think that he would do this to me. And then before even the case started, I asked him, what's wrong with you? He said this was client's demand, so he completely shifted the burden to the client, that the client was insisting that we should have a senior along with us.
So ये grapevine से lawyers talk to each other. Oppositions always talk.
Yeah, so but I think everybody maintains their professionalism, that till what extent we should talk, and I was like, what is happening now? And I was like more scared, but luckily I was prepared for the case. And then we had arguments on that day, and a senior was arguing and here I was arguing. We had also aligned a senior in that case, but I didn't get it because
I'm physically present.
Physically he was not there, and we thought it's not required because the other side is also not getting, so we are going to go to mediation and we are not going to fight on it. But then we had very good preparation plus facts were, and the law was on our side, and on that day we only prevailed. So that was like one
a good win for you.
A good win for us as a law firm, because when the opponent is strong and there is a very major preconceived notion which is there that the face value matters. So in fact I also had this thing in mind before actually doing that I always thought that you need a face value. But on that day I figured out that it's not the face value, it's the preparation and how much hard work you give in. So maybe face value matters a bit, but it's not the absolute thing. You can turn tables if you are well prepared, you know the facts, and you are willing to fight for the client. So that's how it happened, and then we got a good result on that day, and obviously the other side was red faced because
they lost a senior lawyer आके हार गए.
senior lawyer plus the surprise element which they wanted to bring in could not work. So that was one point which like I still remember that day, that how and it was a very good win for us.
कोई बहुत ओवर ड्रामेटिक केस हुआ है कभी कि मतलब बहुत ही ज़्यादा ड्रामेटिक गिमिक हो गया हो कि जी शोर ही मचा दिया या मीडिया ले आया या कुछ और कर दिया, ऐसा हुआ है कभी?
So I have handled a case for a residential society. So they in that society all are retired, army men and delegates from all fields, and they are quite aggressive in their approach of doing, because they have been on battlefield. Somebody's retired from raw, so all those, and they had this huge fight with builder, very renowned builder in Gurgaon, and there was a land scam which was involved, and every time we had this case in National Consumer Dispute Resolution Forum, NCDRC. This was regarding that the builder had promised lifts of some standard, that it would be like a popular brand, but the lifts are substandards, and there are like free falls which are frequently happening. So we had like 60 to 70 senior citizen residents in the court, and they are not letting me speak because they would speak, and judge was quite nice because it's consumer friendly forum. It was not that formal as we are in Supreme Court or High Court. And these guys are shouting, and everybody is well dressed with hats and this, that, all that, glamour is also there. And they are like, what is this? And while I was not arguing much, they were only arguing. And one gentleman said that now we are dying, that because we are at the advanced age. Okay. So, and 10, 12 people have died, and they do not have a proper lifts. So somehow it was communicated to the judge that people have died because of the faulty lifts. कि lifts के free fall हो रहे हैं, and उसमें लोग मर रहे हैं. And that on that day he was like, I will decide this case today. कि लोग मर रहे हैं लिफ्ट में गिर के, and those are not the real facts. And then I am trying to, because as a officer of court I cannot say something which is not correct. And then these guys will not let me speak also. He said, shh, don't say, let him think that people are dying. We are dying. We are also telling you we are dying every day because the lifts are faulty. And then on that day judge said that I am going to decide this case, and it was getting delayed because a builder would take adjournment on some or the other pretext, and on that day the judge decided, and in his order he wrote that 15 people have died. And that fact is not real. So obviously the judgment came in favor, and the lifts they ordered a refund of lot of maintenance.
अगर order में गलत डल जाए, इसका कुछ reversal है?
So basically, see, it was supplementing the fact that the lifts are faulty. So per se it had just the psychological impact that how faulty lifts are. It was not as per their contract. There have been some free falls where and it would not work for people who are handicapped, so they cannot get down. So all those issues were there. But then that aggravated the situation that we could get the order on that very day, and it was favorable order, and we got a refund of maintenance, which ran into I think almost 50-60 lakhs of maintenance was refunded, and the lifts were ordered to be changed. So that was a landmark case where 66 people were there, and we sailed through because of all that drama. I mean, all those gimmicks, because there was a lot of pressure and miscommunication which was happening, and builder never challenged. Builder challenged it to the Supreme Court, but then in Supreme Court also the result was not reversed.
How different is High Court and Supreme Court?
So I would say High Court and Supreme Court are quite formal, where we have set rules. The gimmicks as such do not work. Sudden adjournments especially in Delhi, I would say, would not work. I mean, since you are as officer of court, you are responsible towards, there is, court also, there is some sense of responsibility which should be there. So as a defendant, even if you're defending a case, you cannot take that risk, because you never know if a judge is going to put huge cost on you. Suppose I don't have a case, but I advise my client to file a case, and then you go on first hearing, and then obviously you do not have any merit in the case, then Delhi High Court judges would snap, for wasting their time, they would snap 5 lakhs on you as costs. That what kind of on the client, but then client has acted on our advice or somebody else's, like lawyer's advice. So that kind of orders are given, and if there is delays there, and then still you are trying to waste court's time, so but the courts will come heavily on. So the responsibility is a lot, that you cannot do such things where you can't fool around with courts.
I wanted to ask this question, of course it's going to be, at times it must have been difficult to deal with certain clients, but they're a client. Yeah. And then I was talking to somebody in marketing, and I asked them the same question I want to ask you guys. Client Bhagwan hai wali approach chalti hai law mein? Like, is that something which you should?
That's the approach you have to follow. Sometimes you get good, every client is good, and we get clients of different nature, different behavior. So whenever the client is I would say easy to handle, of course the life becomes easier for you, but at moments we do get clients who are slightly finicky, but in those situations also we tend to learn a lot. It helps in improving our systems, it helps in improving the way we are working. Like, we as lawyers have tendency to write long emails because we love drafting. We'll write each and every possible thing on the email. Yeah. So today morning itself, one of the client who was visiting me, he told me that I think you should send smaller emails, and you should send not so frequent emails. Send one email a month. So that's again, I am keeping my client informed about each and every stage. Yeah. But client had also made a valid point, that you're sending too many emails to me, where I am apprising him about the situation, but he just wants the final outcome to be taken. So I took a note of it. So working with difficult clients is something which helps us in improving our systems, and if required, we possibly amend the way we work. Okay. So having tough clients is a bliss. They teach you a lot. Okay. They teach you a lot.
Okay, but like learning to say no to your clients, does that happen? Ki guys, bro, this is my advice, don't do this.
We do that.
And yet they do it, and then must be frustrating at that point.
Yes, it does happen, whenever a client comes to us, like me, Nihit, and everyone in the firm, we tell them on the front that this is the situation, and if you take this action, this is going to be your chances of success, maybe 50% or 60%. But we are very transparent, and because we just to earn some money, we don't want any person to struggle. We don't want to make false promise to any client that, if you come to us, we'll definitely help you win the case or get your IP registered in your name. We don't do that. We tell the client upfront that you are not in a position to win. And if they still say that, okay, I still want to fight, we go for it. But we always tell them that, we very transparent way of working. That's what we have learned from the the founding partners and the managing partner of the firm, to not to overpromise. It's always good to be transparent. Always say no on the face, then rather saying giving reasons and making stories after 2 to 3 years. And the person if you do a good job for one client, he's going to give you 10 clients.
Yeah, correct. That is true.
Otherwise, he's going to tell 10 other people that don't go to this firm.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that is true in
every aspect. Yeah.
Even referrals on getting jobs happens the same way.
So I would say rather under promising sometimes, because then it keeps the expectation of client also in place,
in control,
and then you can surprise them with a good result.
Yeah, one of my directors recently told me, under promise, over deliver. And I hold that very true to my heart, because I've realized the power of doing that.
Right.
Because if for any reason you're not able to fulfill or deliver your work, correct, then you've already overpromised so much that you're already in a bad limelight.
I would say that client Bhagwan hai. I would also always give this example to my team. We will compare client with our beloved or lover. So I would give this example that how would you deal with your girlfriend or boyfriends? You know, if you get a call, there is a missed call, right? Then you ought to return that call. So if you equate, you are able to build that connection with client, and then obviously every relationship there is a lot of yelling is also happening, and then you have to take control of it. So similar way, client attorney relationship, that thing is there, and then confidentiality is also one of the major factors which is involved in. We like to inculcate that.
So basically building a personal and a professional relationship with the client.
Yes. We think that we belong to a service industry only, and then if we have provided the service, it's our duty to let client know what has transpired in the court transparently, rather than client checking upon us that what has happened today.
Sometimes you have to take negative, feedback of the client positively, and develop that connection with the client that he is able to share things with you, and you are able to give him the proper advice. If the client is also hiding things from you, you won't be able to give him proper advice. So it's all about how well you connect with your client. It's very important to have that comfort level for a client, that he should be comfortable with you in talking to you and in getting the advice.
This is so true for teams as well.
Absolutely.
I would also want to understand your experience, pivoting from a different firm for you, coming to SS Rana, and then building your career, moving up the hierarchy, and you starting your career and building your career with the firm.
Right.
How was your experience, as a first-time manager, and then how did you inculcate the values you were talking about within the team? Right. And also hard decisions as a leader. I think that is the most interesting one I want to talk about.
I think I would give credit for moving up the ladder in the firm to my managing partner, who has not only guided me on the legal front as to how I handle a matter, but as to how to handle the teams. Like he would tell me, if you would keep keeping the things to yourself all the time, you will never grow. The mantra to grow is you learn, you make your juniors learn it, so that you are able to focus on better things, and you can do more things. But if you will think that I will reply to all the emails, I will reply to all the drafts, then you are not going to. You may be a good employee, you may be a good lawyer, but you will not be able to move up the ladders. You won't be able to grow. So always better to give responsibility to your juniors, make them learn, develop the trust between them. So if you trust your juniors and they trust you, there will not be any ever ego clash. So thankfully, at this moment in my career, my people I work, I have developed a personal connection with them, in the sense a limited personal connection, that if they have any problem with their internal problem, in the sense in their family, they want some help from me, they would come up to me, and I ensure that I don't keep it. Likewise, I have that personal connect with my managing partner, and if I am facing a problem, maybe from a personal front, I want to discuss it, he hears it out, he helps me, he tells me how to handle the situation. So that's that's where, we spend more time in office than we spend spend time at home. So if we coming to work and knowing that my boss or my juniors are with me and they know that I am with them, you would eventually work harder, you will grow faster, and that's the important mantra I have learned from a managing partner, and I am giving it to my juniors, that never ever feel insecure. Never feel insecure कि मैंने उसको काम सिखा दिया तो वो मुझसे आगे निकल जाएगा तो निकल जाएगा. No problem.
And you'll be proud of it. I think it is very important to understand as a leader that you want to shape more leaders who basically cross the path you've chosen.
Right. And if we would have not been doing it, अगर ये होता कि अगर हम नहीं सारा काम करने बैठ, so we would not be doing this particular interview. As simple as that. We cannot leave 2 hours of work. Yeah. So we knew that we have to.
Thank God for delegation.
Of course, it makes our life easier. Yeah. Otherwise, if we will do the micromanagement.
Rupin bill na bhej de tumhe.
No. Not at all. So my managing partner still says that it is always 80% management and 20% of actually doing the work. If you are able to do the work, properly, and if you are able to manage it properly, doing work is very easy. Doing drafting of a matter is easy, but getting it done in a manner wherein you don't irritate your junior, you keep the client happy is the task. So you need to pre-plan the things. You need to identify. See, everyone will not be having the same capability. So one of my juniors, he may be good in drafting. The other one may be good in doing the research. So I need to utilize their skills in a manner wherein I am able to handle the client.
While imparting more skills to them also.
Yes.
As you mentioned, कि वो learning वाला curve कभी रुकना नहीं चाहिए.
रुकना नहीं चाहिए. So I make sure whatever I learn, I pass it on to the juniors, so that next time similar things come up, they are able to handle it, and I'm able to do something more. That's what I have learned, and I'm trying to pass on to my juniors.
No, I 100% agree. Any hard decisions you have taken as a leader? Because let's be honest, everybody has a different way of working, and sometimes it does not match.
Absolutely.
You may find either with your senior or with your colleagues. So have you ever had to, take decisions due to probably because of a business decision, or more of a way of working style of a decision where it's been कि यार ये decision लेना मेरे लिए बहुत hard है. For a few managers or for a few leaders, it's usually firing people. And especially when COVID was around, businesses were struggling, clients were struggling. How is your experience with the whole situation, and any decisions you had to take?
Fortunately, we are very fortunate to be working in the firm where we ourselves have not seen many people getting fired here. We do not have the culture of firing the people. Of course, if there is a mismatch of expectations,
Yeah. Of course. Or it's just incompetence in work.
Right.
Then eventually,
we were fortunate that we did not have to terminate any of our employee during the COVID period also.
Yes. Yeah, during COVID, I think because for litigation it was complete low.
Yeah.
There's no hearings at all.
The courts were closed, and then obviously these were the guys who were supporting us, because luckily we had that kind of setup where we have a lot of non-litigating work, which includes corporate trademark filings, and things were moving on the other side. Rather, patent filing in fact increased during pandemic because people were coming up with a lot of inventions. So we were doing better in filing patents. So that's how we covered up for everybody.
That's how the team works.
Yes. So
backing up each other. That's how the team works. Yeah.
So so as leaders, I think Rupin has covered all the three aspects which are important. One is knowledge transfer and the power of delegation, which is very important. That if we keep things to ourselves, and then there is no growth. And power of delegation, one thing which I think it's very important to delegate a work properly, because if delegation is not with terms and conditions, with proper instructions, then your juniors, your team members is going to fizzle out, and then the product would be very, very disappointing. But I think if you delegate with proper instructions
and proper guidance also,
yes,
that this is the way you should look at it. Yes. Then, and you also have to tell, politely tell your juniors about the deadline, that I'm giving this to you, this is how it is to be done, and give it to me by 5 o'clock. Normally what I do is, even if I need it by 7 o'clock, I say 5 o'clock. So that
there needs to be a buffer. For you to also.
वो भी देख लेंगे interview.
Don't worry, they know that. They know that.
So that's how we have been working, and we giving proper instructions, which we think that I am of the opinion that I can do a lot of track changes in a draft, and show that you have missed this, that, etc. So rather than doing that and going through that process, my way of working on getting a draft done is to write the points down, tell the flow, how it is, what is the final outcome should look like, so that we don't enter into realm of track changes, because sometimes it becomes very demeaning also, that mera draft pura cut gaya, this,
Absolutely.
that. So all that happens in a law firm, this thing. I may be able to satisfy my ego that मैंने देखा draft उड़ा दिया, this, that, but given, if I give a proper instructions and proper flow is given to a junior, then obviously the final, and this is going to save a lot of time, because the product is what you wanted, and you do not have to spend time again on correcting each and everything. So and it saves, otherwise you are going to track change, and then
eventually, in a nutshell, right now our position is We need to keep the client happy. We need to keep the juniors happy. We need to keep the boss happy.
True.
We have to keep everyone happy. So we have to control our temperament. We have to guide everyone in a proper manner that everyone is happy with us.
As long as everybody realizes the vision that the client needs to be happy and it needs to be done in a structured way, teams can work together, irrespective of whatever work they're doing. Law ke andar or law firms ke andar, do you think the whole work from home model, does it work?
If people are able to deliver from home, why not? People like living in city like Delhi or Gurgaon or Noida, people are driving 2 to 3 hours of work. So in those 2-3 hours they can be used for work. Provided they are doing a good job from home, there is no harm in it. Right? Of course, it's more easy to sit across the table and do the work, no doubt about it. But if someone has a situation, they are injured or they have a family situation, and they are delivering work from home, there is no harm in it.
Yeah, hybrid model works very well that way. I also wanted to understand, you were talking about, COVID ki wajah se the litigation aspect was closed down. So is that the fundamental difference between transactional law and litigation altogether?
There is a difference. Basically, litigation arises which is a step ahead when there is a dispute. Before that, these stages are such that you are trying to avoid a dispute. So
Right.
that is the difference, that where transactional lawyer or a corporate lawyer would differ from a litigating lawyer is that they are trying to control the mess.
Right.
When the disputes are controlled at the initial stages by drafting a good contract, by having everything in order. That's how they are working to ensure that you do not land up in court. But for litigating lawyers like me, we end up in court when there is already a dispute. So that is
Right.
the major difference.
Absolutely.
As far as litigation is concerned, it was very difficult to shift on a virtual model altogether, because transactional lawyers, they are mostly working on laptops, they are mostly on the desk. Now we have a hybrid system with courts, but we actually like going to the court, because what was the difference? We were saving a lot of time. We were attending only one case, but when you are in court, let's say you are at number 15, then you end up watching 1 to 14.
And you learn a lot from those cases.
As a litigating lawyer, I am learning everything from 1 to 14. The kind of confidence, the kind of preparation, the kind of feel. When you are in field, then you feel like you are actually playing a game. Yeah. So while you are in court, you are completely a different lawyer. And then you get referrals in courts from your colleagues also.
Different types of laws altogether and experiences altogether. So probably mergers and acquisitions is also something which you guys,
Right.
talk about on a day-to-day basis. From my perspective, it's a completely different situation because I work for corporate. So, mergers and acquisitions, not from a legal term, but it's more of system integrations, ensuring that the work is transferred efficiently, stuff like that. How is your perspective on mergers and acquisitions, and, what are some good fun experiences and learnings you've taken from that aspect of business altogether?
See, when we look at anything relating to the mergers or the demergers, and looking it from the eye of the IP perspective, we have seen that, see, IP assets, they are valued very high. But sometimes I've observed that, they are not considered when you are valuing your company at the time of merger or demerger even. So, I'm not very sure, but I can, fairly remember that when Kingfisher was facing issues, so their IP assets were valued in few 100 crores, I think, if I'm not, maybe thousands, I can't recall. So valuing your IP assets is very important, and then valuing them properly, again, is a very important aspect. Because once you acquire someone's company, you are taking over their business, you are taking over their shareholdings, of course, you are taking over their factories, their warehouses and everything. You also have to transfer their IP in your name. In the records of the government, in the IP office, you need to file a request by proving that you have taken over the IP assets as well. You have to prepare a proper deed of assignment and an affidavit that that person has actually sold those IP assets to you for a consideration. So that's a very important aspect. Sometimes people overlook at it.
So IP assets, when you say IP assets, it could be anything, right? From the brand name to probably some technology they've created. Or
It could be an invention which we call as patents. It can be the copyrights. It can be the trade names, the trademarks. That is the brand, and it comes in different forms. Like it may be like the trademarks can be in different form. One would be a standard character. Maybe if you have written, let's say, brand name Reliance in standard character, the logo of it, we call it as a device mark. Then you can get a protection as a composite mark. You can club them together. Then you get then there is a provision to get your sound mark registered. The Airtel jingle, na 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 na, you can get it registered. Then few companies, they also have a tendency to get their IP protection over the specific color combination. Like if you know, if I asked you right now, do you know a bank which has a unique blue and green color combination?
yeah, Standard Chartered.
Yes. So they got the protection over it. And the John Deere tractor company, they have the unique yellow and green color combination. Cadbury's has the protection on their unique purple colored packaging.
But no, when we talk about these, so purple colored packaging for Cadbury, Standard Chartered having those two colors. In that specific industry, or is that across whatever you want to do? If I want to open, sell this pen under a purple packaging, I can still do that.
Yes. You can do that, but if someone is actually, let's say, assuming if I am selling chocolates under the purple color packaging, and you want to sell biscuits, then you are dealing in a closely related goods, F&B, then it might be a problem for you.
Okay.
Right. So we need to be cautious, because when you file a trademark in India or across in any part of the world, then it's not necessary, not that you will get protection over each and everything. When you file an application, you specify that I am going to use or I am using this mark for these particular goods. So your protection is limited to that.
So intellectual property in mergers and acquisition is something which everybody should look into. And you mentioned कि उसकी valuation करो.
Right.
What are some tips and tricks for clients or for people to evaluate their assets in terms of IP? Like
IP valuation is generally done by the chartered accountants or the company secretaries. Normally, what I have observed is how you value your asset is, I may be wrong. I mean, I'm just still putting it. Is what kind of numbers that you are generating from that particular brand in last 5 years, and based on those and the current market position, what is the number you're looking at for the next 5-10 years maybe. That is one of the trick, way to actually value your IP.
Also, in this, I think one very important aspect for IP valuation is their market share.
Right.
So if you are industry player like let's say energy drinks, so if you have certain market share, then your IP will be valued more. So IP, your market share in that particular industry is one of the major factors to determine your IP valuations. So that's how when merger and acquisitions are happening of a major companies, they're obviously, if they are into services or goods, then their market share is important factor to identify what would be their value of their IP.
Right.
And then obviously IP is also coming with an expiry date. It's not absolute. Yes, different IPs would have different shelf lives, although trademarks can be renewed.
They can, n number of times you can renew for 10 years.
okay, that was my next question. Minimum of how many years? So 10.
Trademark is 10 years.
Copyright would be like 60 years. And
after the death of the author.
After the death of the author. Or during the lifetime you have that copyright. So that is there. So and patent also you have to renew it.
इसमें royalty का role कैसे आता है?
I have developed a brand and you come to me that I want to use your brand to sell the products. Then I can take one-time royalty from you, and then also depending upon the sales you do, I can be given certain percentage of the sales also. That's how the royalty, because royalty is most of, like when we give a house for a rent, we take the lease amount. In this case, we take the royalty. But when we are taking the royalty, it essentially means that I am giving you a limited license or a limited permission to use it, but that permission is revocable. I can terminate it. It's not perpetual, and it has to be a specific it can be for India only, right? But when I'm transferring my asset to you, IP asset, when we call it as an assignment, it's more of a selling of my asset to you. In that case, I will take a purchase price from you, and it will not be my lifelong royalty. Royalty will come into picture when I'm giving it to use it for a limited period.
All these big brands which we have across the world, जैसे Apple हो गया, है ना, probably other device companies, Cadbury's is one of the biggest example. So do they earn royalty through their products or their IPs altogether?
They would be doing it most essentially because normally what happens is either they give license to use it to a third party in India and then take royalty of this from the sales. The second way would be they would be establishing that their own subsidiary in India. In that case also the law is very clear. Like when I'm doing business with my subsidiary company, it has to be done on arm length basis. So if you are my subsidiary company and if I have to give you permission to use my technical know-how or use my brand name, then I will be taking from you the royalty at such percentage which I would have otherwise taken from a third party. The market scenario is taking 8% royalty or 6% royalty. I will have to take that only. It cannot be a free thing.
Okay. And international IP and domestic IP में कितना fundamental difference है? Like, are these IP laws standard across the world or differ by?
They are mostly standard with very slight, technical thing. Like in India, everything is online. But let's say about SAARC countries, maybe Nepal, it's still physical filing there.
Oh.
Right. And when I joined the profession in India in 2012, there were mostly physical filings. Our runner would go to IP office every day to go and file the application. But at that point in time, USA was ahead with us. They already introduced the online filing. So the standard procedure, mostly the rules and everything, it's mostly standard.
And if you want a global IP, is that possible?
Right now, IP is country specific. It's a territorial right. So if you are looking to get your IP registered, let's say if you want to get your trademark registered in, let's say, USA, then you have two options. One option is you hire a local lawyer there, you engage him and you pay him the fees and he'll do the work for you. Yeah. Second one is you can use a system of Madrid system. That's what we call international registration. In that scenario, what happens is if you already have an Indian registration or an application, you file a request with the Indian IP office for an international registration. Then when you file that application, then all the member countries, I think there are approximately around 100 countries who are a member. You can select those countries in your checkbox that I want protection in this. Then application will be forwarded to WIPO and then World Intellectual Property Organization. Then they will forward your application on their own with the respective IP offices. Let's say you had chosen USA, Europe, and some Australia, and maybe any other country. So the application would go to their IP office. They will examine the application as per their systems, their rules, and then we will be notified by them what is the outcome of the application. The benefit here in the second system of Madrid is you don't need to hire local lawyers there and save on that fees. But if any objection is received or if someone files an opposition against your application, then you would need the help of a local lawyer there.
So IP and patent are the same thing?
Yes. IP covers patents, trademarks, industrial designs and copyrights.
Let's talk about this situation we are in right now. Unfiltered Executive as a podcast or a talk show altogether. If I'm building a brand right now, somebody's looking at it in the US and is like, I love that name because I know I have a good name. Okay, they're like, I love that name, I love the brand colors. What is stopping them to create that brand altogether in US, UK or any other country?
See, there are two aspects related to the IP here. One would be the name, the Unfiltered Executive, right? So for that, they might be, what happens is whenever you file a trademark application, first of all, a good lawyer would always conduct a search to see if someone else has filed or not. So if someone has actually copied your thing, so the way you are presenting the case, this particular talk show, unless it's something very unique, if it is coming up for the first time, then you can very well stop others. But if it is something which is already there in the market and you are just adding some values to it and giving a good brand name, then it might be difficult for you to stop someone.
But then it gets very tricky because a podcast is where people just talk to each other. Right. I'm doing the same thing except it's a niche market.
Right.
So does that build a case? For example, if that happens.
So basically IP would not exist in the idea itself.
Right.
But your brand name, let's say you have a particular brand name, and if it is unique, then they cannot use same but like podcast style could be same, or the idea behind that,
That is right.
it can be.
They can copy the theme, but they cannot copy the name
Right, right.
globally.
And in fact, you know,
No, so for globally there are coming from the litigation background, globally there are tests. So what is the major test is that your spillover reputation to those countries.
right.
So I mean, if you have that kind of reputation established in their jurisdiction, only then you have those rights intact. Otherwise, these are territorial in nature. It will give you protection only in India. But if the reputation is spilled over, that is the line which is used by the courts. That if the reputation is spilled over to those countries where there is infringement or copying of your trademark or trade dress per se, then the action would lie.
Spillover reputation would basically mean
A trans-border reputation.
Right.
So you become so popular that even you're known worldwide. Or how there are some tests to establish this trans-border reputation or spillover, like you're sponsoring some international events, which are world famous. You are advertising in some media, which is just not limited to India, but you have your posters in magazines or flyers on the airport of different nations. So these are the various tests which you participate in a conference or a trade show where all countries are there, and then your information is also there.
Normally what happens, you know, not from the digital media perspective, but normally what I observed as all the multinational corporations who have budgets, before coming into any country, they would file the applications in advance, even if they are not doing the business, because they would not want any kind of objection to their registrations before they come. So I know companies who file their applications 10 to 15 years in advance.
even if they have a potential,
even if they have a thought process that we might go to India someday, or we might go to Nepal someday, they would file the application today itself. Right, so that no one else is able to get the similar brand registered. Otherwise, you would yourself face problem in getting your brand registered, and then he would claim that he had filed an application before you. So you will have to give him something to transfer the rights to you.
Right.
So that's very important.
And one very interesting aspect, which is with the technology, how IP is changing. So one is now there are IP protection vis-a-vis metaverse. So which is very interesting right now, which is opening, to which the IP laws are not sufficient to cater those infringements. Suppose there is a real life product and then you come up with a game and then and which has a counterfeit of a real product, then what happens? So there is a dichotomy of views. Different jurisdictions are taking up differently, like famous LV case. So there was a metaverse NFT which featured LV bags in the virtual media. So there was a styling where the LV bags could be seen, and LV took an action on that NFT and they got the compensation. Whereas there was in India there was a case where basically jerseys of Indian cricket team was involved, and on the game they were using those names, etc. And the action was taken. However, no infringement was found. So the things are developing on metaverse, AI aspect also, and there is a lot of gray areas. We have started now filing a lot of metaverse applications which protects a trademark in a virtual world. So all those brands who had like a lot of very good portfolio, now they are filing in.
Like I have myself filed trademark applications for the metaverse space for the malls, wherein people would do shopping in the metaverse space.
Oh, so you can't copy the mall name or the mall design or altogether anything remotely.
Yes,
right.
And even like a physical store is there, like just let's say Nike. So if you're trying, then there are AR, VR, MR. So there are varieties of metaverses also. Augmented reality, virtual reality, and mixed reality, where you're trying a pair of shoes by using a Snapchat lens. So how that is protected? If you're doing a Nike style is protected in the virtual form also. So that's how IP is developing on digital front. and the rules are not as such sufficient because nobody anticipated such development in technology. So those things are also quite hot when it comes to people used to say this, see that IP is static in a way that once you know how to file a trademark and you know how to fight an infringement, then it is quite sorted. But it's not true. It is also evolving according to the technology. So that's how we have seen that IP itself, because if things develop, then obviously IP laws are to be there to cater those needs. So that's how, in fact, on IP front, the things are developing in IP law.
So it's an upcoming market altogether for not just lawyers but also for brands, because this is because of the technology now. They're deep diving into new things altogether. Right.
So
That's
they
why I
do not
say
think
we continue to learn every day.
Yes.
Of course. And I just being conscious of time, because this is a very interesting conversation. I think I want to touch base on artificial intelligence. And I know that you have recently posted an article on LinkedIn as well around, artificial intelligence. What is its role in not just IP but law altogether? And do you foresee a major benefit from artificial intelligence?
So basically, to me, AI can never replace a human touch, and which is a very essential part of being in a fraternity such as law, whether it's being a lawyer or for that matter a judge or an arbitrator. Basically, AI driven dispute resolution is remote, but it can, because it is like a tool. It can assist you in a manner where your drafting can be done a bit. But per se, I would say that AI cannot resolve disputes because they are based on certain algorithms. The human touch is missing, the emotions are missing. So I do not see AI resolving disputes in near future.
It will help you. There are softwares in the market which can tell you what is the error, spelling error in your contract, in your drafting. But of course, if you need to fight a case, you will take lawyer, of course, to the court, and may not be not the AI machine. And even if it happens someday, the liability aspect will not be there at all then.
Yeah, of course. Who's going to take ownership?
Who's going to take ownership?
Yes. So one funny case which happened recently in US, what happened that the lawyer had his pleadings drafted through AI, and yes, whatever AI was used, and there were two cases which he relied, like a precedent, which he quoted and relied on those two case laws for his own case, and they never existed.
Oh no!
And obviously they could not find those cases, that how this gentleman has relied on cases which don't even exist. So these kinds of mistakes, maybe it's the initial stage, maybe we do not know the future. Especially I was at a conference where they were talking about online dispute resolution system, which is upcoming, where the dispute resolution happens online. So AI can help you reduce the preliminary steps, like your evidence stage, the other stages where it can reduce your paperwork, like that, and it can help you as a tool to me. But I don't see them replacing lawyers anytime soon.
I still have so many questions, and I'm loving this conversation. But just being conscious of your time, and because I also don't want to be billed by Rupin.
Yes.
And you as well. It's going to be a very expensive day for me if that happens. But what's one significant piece of advice you would want to share to professionals within the law industry? People from college, people who've just started their career, and what is it that they should focus on in order to aspire to be in a position where you are, and also aspire further? So it can be one, it can be multiple. Any tips of advices from both of you?
So my advice to the students and in the college, or who are aspiring to be lawyers in future, would be to, of course, you have to work hard and try to learn everything. Do not limit yourself to a particular specialization, especially during your college days. Of course, if you like a particular subject, you can give more attention to them, but do not focus only on one thing. explore each and every possible thing during your college time. Do your internships, write a lot of articles, do a lot of moot courts, and eventually do not look at money for initial years of your service. Of course, when I'm saying that I'm not saying that you should not take money, but not whatever you are getting to learn, do that and keep on learning every time, and always and never be insecure in your life. Always try to teach what you have learned, train your juniors, and try to be a role model for your juniors, so that they are able to, they have more trust on you, they work happily with you, and they work for you and for them.
Is anything from your side to add to that?
So I would quickly say that, you know, the USP of any profession, be it legal, be it business, be it anything, I think the underlining skill, which I think is the creativity of, you know, whatever you do in life. Each individual would have different creativity, right? How creatively you are handling a case, you know, that is polished by knowledge. So I think the underlining factor of anything to be successful is that creativity, where you can bring the difference, and that can set you apart from other lawyers. And it can be, you know, dealing with client, dealing with your team, that how you mentor your team. And if you're creative enough and not shying in polishing that, a skill which is required, which is to aid your creativity basically, then you can certainly make it in any of the fields, whether it's law, whether it's, you know, fashion, whether it's filmmaking. So that's one thing I think it's very important. Also for lawyers, like young lawyers, the advice is don't shy away in taking calculated risks.
Absolutely.
So that's very important, that the risks you have to take that. I'm giving a caveat to risk. I'm not saying that don't die for for becoming a lawyer. There is a caveat that take a calculated risk. Don't think of, like Rupin said, think of money. Don't think of specialization. That, like, for instance, I started off as an IP lawyer. Today I am a dispute resolution lawyer. So at SS Rana, I was given this, a challenge that you start a non-IP practice. Coming from 70-80% IP background, I was put to a non-IP practice of dispute resolution, such as litigation, arbitration. But for me, I still wanted to keep some IP with me, because I have worked a lot on IP from my initial years. But I was confident that I am willing to take that calculated risk of taking something new, which I have not done. So far so good. I'm like, that worked for me, and that's how I never felt that I never belonged to this company, because it was very smooth journey for me to make it to a partner of the firm, and I never felt that that there is something which is missing. So primarily, I think the focus should be that polishing your skills, becoming creative with your work. Never let your creativity die. So that will never stop your learning. Plus, take calculated risks. These are the two things which I think is very important at all levels, no matter what.
100% agree with both of you. I think it's very, very important for people to understand, all the tips which you have given. I just want to say thank you, guys. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting you. And thank you for being a good host to us as well. The hospitality which we have received over the last 3-4 hours has been amazing. And again, thank you for not billing me for this one. And thank you for imparting the knowledge which you have, taken over the years. And I'm sure this is going to help our viewers, especially people, young professionals, and college students. So thanks again, guys. Have a good day. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.